So Battlefield 6 has been out for around 24 hours now. It seems like everyone is absolutely loving it, which is no surprise. And although we're only a day into launch, I do have a few tips to give out since I was lucky enough to start playing before launch. And so today I'm going to run you guys through some very basic tips and some mistakes you should be avoiding in Battlefield 6. Now, not all of these are gameplay related. A lot of this is actually to do with stuff like progression, the challenges, and just kind of generally pointing you guys in the right direction. There is a lot to learn in this game. And so without wasting any time, let's get stuck right into it. Now, first and foremost, the main tip that I actually have is just to not blindly try and grind XP without making purposeful choices as you are actually grinding your levels. If you do just grind XP without making any of these decisions, you are definitely going to regret that when you realize that there is a bunch of stuff that is not tied purely to your XP. There are a lot of items in this game and even weapons that are unlocked via challenges and not from your actual overall level. And so as soon as you get into the game, I'm sure most of you have already played, but as soon as you finish watching this video, the next time you play, you want to go to the challenges tab and just really take a deep dive and look at all of the different challenges. As an example, after level 23, there are actually a bunch of weapons that can only be unlocked via challenges. It doesn't matter what level you are. If you don't complete those challenges, you won't get those weapons. And none of them are hard, but if you're just solely grinding XP, just going out there with the same gun, the same class, and just trying to level up, well, you're not going to get these weapons unlocked. The same thing also goes for the classes as well. So for example, there are certain gadgets that are actually tied behind that same type of progression. The prime example of this being that you can't actually get the C4 for the Recon class until you've done a challenge to actually do it, which can be done really quickly if you're paying attention. Whereas again, if you guys are just blindly chasing XP, you could probably get to level like 100 and not actually have this done if you're not paying attention. So don't just run a gun and hope to level up fast. Obviously, you do want to level up quickly, but you can also level up while paying attention to these challenges. And if you do it that way, by the time you get to about level 50, you're going to have everything unlocked. Whereas on the flip side, if you just grind XP, you're going to get to level 50 and realize you've only actually unlocked about half of the weapons. Now, the next little tip that I've got is to do with some of those challenges, because there is a way in this game to track the challenges, and you definitely want to be doing that. You're allowed to track up to 4 challenges, I believe. And when you do track these challenges, they will actually show up as soon as you open the menu in game. And so if you're in the middle of a match, you get a few kills and you want to check your progress, the ones you've tracked, you literally just press start and you can see them right there. So if you do have 3 or 4 challenges that you're really focusing on, certain weapons or whatever that you really want to unlock quickly, be sure to track them. Don't just leave them in the challenges tab, because that will obviously save you a lot of time. Instead of having to go into the tab and sort of hunt them down each time, you can just quickly take a glance and see how close you are, and it is a real time saver. Now, something else that is actually related to time, funnily enough, is to do with the XP tokens in this game. This is a bit of a public service announcement, but unlike a lot of other games, the XP tokens in this game, they count down in real time. They don't count down in in-game time. And so if you equip one of these and then let's just say you're waiting for your mates to jump on and you're just sitting on the menu, well, the XP token is currently counting down while you're doing that. So a very useful tip when it comes to using your double XP tokens: don't use them until you actually get into a game. And also obviously don't use them if you're going to use an hour-long one, but you have to get off in half an hour. Well, you don't want to be doing that. You want to be very mindful of these XP tokens and realistically only use them when you know that you're going to be playing for that amount of time, as well as not just sitting in the menus changing loadouts and stuff. You want to be actively playing in order to make the most of those tokens. Another tip that I would give is to also not use them right at the beginning of a session. I can only really speak for myself here, but I know for me, usually my first game or two, I'm definitely just not as good as the next couple of games, because it does take me a few games to warm up. And so if you really want to maximize these double XP tokens, I would recommend just playing a game, maybe 2, and getting into the groove of the game, and then equip the tokens after that. That will definitely give you a better bang for your buck, rather than just equipping them as soon as you log on. Now, before we go any further, I wanted to quickly announce something very exciting. I'm actually going to be starting a top 5 play series, probably starting once season 1 for the game actually starts. And so if you guys start getting any good clips from Battlefield 6, there is a submission link in the description of this video and every single video moving forward. It's very easy to fill out. All you got to do is just literally post a link to your clip and just answer a couple of quick questions just to help me sort of sort the clips out. So be sure to start submitting those clips. I'm going to be doing giveaways for the winners of each season. I'll probably be giving away battle passes and potentially even some merch and stuff like that. And for anyone else interested in battle pass giveaways as well, I will be doing some battle pass giveaways to channel members too. So be sure to start submitting those clips, and if you guys are interested, be sure to check out the channel memberships as well. Now the next tip I've got is to do with leveling up once again. Obviously we're at the beginning of the game, we all want to level up and get these guns, and one thing I think a lot of people are probably going to neglect is once again those challenges, because some of the challenges I mentioned earlier, they are for unlocking weapons or gadgets or whatever, but there are a lot of challenges, if not pretty much the majority of the challenges in this game, that will net you pretty big chunks of XP. Sometimes you'll get 3,000 XP, sometimes you'll get 5,000, sometimes even potentially up to 10,000. And often these challenges will actually result in netting you literal double XP tokens as well. So just like I mentioned earlier, paying attention to the challenges that will unlock you weapons, there are lots of challenges that are going to get you leveled up quickly. Always pay attention to those challenges, and a part of this as well is trying to sort of vary your playstyle. Don't just stick to one class and one weapon and just play the game and try and level up. Even if you're way better with that weapon than anything else, you're just not going to level up as fast, because that varied playstyle will result in more of these challenges being finished. So focus on the challenges that will give you big chunks of XP. They don't seem like that much, but honestly, these do all add up. And I think a lot of people are going to neglect this. Now, the next tip is also to do with progression, and it's actually to do with the Portal game modes. Now, Portal actually now shows which servers will let you full progression, and so you can actually go and play Portal and still get full progression, unlike with 2042, where most of the Portal modes, they just didn't give you full progression, and it kind of turned people off. That isn't really an issue anymore. As you can see here, it will literally show you all of the stats in terms of what you're going to get progression-wise, and so don't let the progression side of things deter you from Portal. If you want to go and play Portal, you can still do that. Just be mindful of the servers you're choosing. And I guess I'd recommend that early in the game, you probably want to be playing only on the servers that give you full XP, because otherwise everyone's obviously getting a head start on you. You can always play the other modes later once you are comfortable with your level. The last little tip that I've got to do with challenges as well, especially when it comes to like the really obscure challenges, is that for those who didn't know, you can actually host your own mode, which is essentially a Portal mechanic, but you can do this against bots, and you can still get all of these challenges done that way as well. So there are going to be some certain challenges in there where they're just really annoying. There's one that's like hip fire damage with LMGs. No one wants to do that in a real game. So if I'm being honest, the best way to do that is actually to just go into Portal, make your own mode, make sure it is obviously full progression and everything, but you can just put a password and it will just autofill with bots. No real players will get in there, and this is going to make that a whole lot easier. Now, the last little tip that I've got is actually finally a gameplay related tip, and this is to do with some of the movement changes that they did make pretty much after the beta. This was also during that Mirac Valley playtest that we did a few weeks ago, and one thing I've noticed is that the spread or the bloom is a little bit more apparent, I guess, than it was in the beta. So one thing I've found is that if you are really struggling to hit your shots, if it feels like you're aiming pretty well but your shots just aren't hitting, that can depend on the weapon, and I'd recommend just trying to kind of slow down and actually moving a little bit less when you're shooting. I know that sounds counterintuitive, because generally you do want to be strafing and making yourself a hard target to hit, but if you're behind a piece of cover, it is actually worth sometimes just completely standing still and making sure your shots hit. It might seem like you would die quicker doing it that way, but your shots are going to be more accurate than your enemies. And also I've found that when I do that, people seem to really miss their shots because they probably expect me to be moving, and when I just stop still, they're kind of actually not used to people doing that. So if you feel like you can't really hit your shots, if you feel like you're aiming well enough but the bloom and the spread is just a little bit too much, slow it down, try and stay a little bit more stationary, and that will definitely help you out a little bit when it comes to the spread. But that is it for some very basic tips and some mistakes you should be avoiding early on in Battlefield 6. Obviously, we're going to get a lot more into the more in-depth guides and advanced guides, but in this first week or so, I'll be going over a lot of stuff like this that are just some very basic tips. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on all of that upcoming content. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.